What happens when two of country music's biggest stars clash on live television and a simple question sparks chaos no one saw coming? Today we're diving into the heated moment between Keith Urban and Kelly Clarkson that left viewers stunned. The Kelly Clarkson Show was meant to be another easy interview for Keith, promoting his new album and chatting with Kelly's huge audience. But what began as a light conversation turned tense when Kelly brought up a subject that hit a nerve. "So, Keith, there's been talk about authenticity in country music," Kelly said with her usual friendly smile. "Some people think a few artists, maybe even you, have moved too far from the genre's roots. What do you think?" Keith's relaxed expression changed instantly. His smile faded and he leaned back, fingers tapping the arm of his chair. "That's a loaded question, Kelly. What exactly are you asking?" Kelly continued, trying to sound casual. "I just meant, how do you respond to critics who say some artists, including you, have gone too far into pop?" The crowd grew quiet. Keith stared at her for a long moment before answering. "You know what, Kelly? I find it interesting you'd bring that up without asking me first. This feels less like an interview and more like an ambush." Kelly blinked, surprised. "Keith, I didn't mean it that way. I'm just asking about how country music is changing. You're one of the biggest artists in the genre." Keith's tone sharpened. "So I'm supposed to explain myself because someone wrote an article? Success doesn't mean I've stopped being authentic." The tension in the room was thick. Kelly shifted in her seat. "That's not what I meant. I think your music's amazing. I just wanted your take on the discussion." Keith gave a small, humorless laugh. "Here's my take. I've been doing this for over 20 years, won Grammys, sold millions of records, and stayed true to who I am. So when you sit here and question my choices because of what some critic wrote, yeah, I've got a problem with that." The audience was silent now. Kelly tried to calm things down. "Keith, I think this is a misunderstanding. I wasn't attacking you." Keith leaned forward, voice low and sharp. "When was the last time someone questioned your authenticity, Kelly?" "I bet it doesn't happen much." Kelly opened her mouth to answer, but Keith continued. "Country music loves to police its artists, telling us what to sound like, how to dress, how to stay in our lane. God forbid we evolve." Kelly's tone grew defensive. "You're taking this the wrong way. I was asking about trends, not making it personal." Keith shook his head. "It sure feels personal." The back and forth grew more heated. Kelly straightened in her chair. "Maybe the issue isn't my question, Keith. Maybe it's how you're reacting." The words landed hard. Keith's jaw tightened. "So now it's my fault for not liking a setup? That's rich." Kelly's voice trembled but stayed steady. "Keith, I think we need to take a step back." "No," Keith shot back. "You knew exactly where this was going. You had your questions ready, your article ready. You wanted a reaction." The studio crew exchanged nervous glances as the tension grew unbearable. Kelly tried again. "I never meant to make you uncomfortable. I've always tried to ask fair questions." Keith's reply came fast. "Intentions don't matter, Kelly. What matters is that you asked me to defend my art on live TV. That's not fair." Kelly's patience was slipping. "You're being unfair, Keith. I asked a simple question, and you turned it into an attack." Keith stood abruptly, nearly knocking his chair over. The audience gasped. "Defensive? You think I'm defensive? I've been in this business longer than you've been on TV, and I don't need to defend my music to anyone." Kelly remained seated, voice calm but sharp. "I may not be a country artist, but I know good music when I hear it. And right now you're acting like someone who can't handle a simple question." The room went dead silent. Keith's voice dropped to a near whisper. "You want to talk about insecurity? Let's talk about a host who tears down artists to stay relevant." Kelly stood now, facing him directly. "You're out of line, Keith. No guest has ever spoken to me like this. And no host has ever tried to humiliate me on live TV." Keith shot back. Kelly's voice turned cold. "You know what, Keith? This interview is over. You need to calm down." Keith laughed harshly. "Calm down? You invite me here, ambush me, then blame me for reacting?" "If you feel disrespected," Kelly said, "look at how you're acting." Keith's tone dripped with disbelief. "Unprofessional? You're the one chasing drama for ratings." Kelly shook her head. "I've built my show on respect. I've never tried to embarrass a guest." Keith wasn't convinced. "I'm sure your producers are thrilled. You got your viral moment." Kelly's face paled. That's disgusting. You think I'd set you up for ratings? Keith crossed his arms. I think you know controversy sells. If asking about trends sets you off, Kelly replied, maybe you need to ask why. Keith stepped closer. Don't you dare validate those critics. You have no idea what it's like being questioned every time you try to grow. And you don't know what it's like to be attacked for doing your job, Kelly fired back. I've had Dolly, Garth, Carrie. They handled questions with grace. Keith scoffed. So now I'm being compared? Figures. Maybe it's about handling criticism better, Kelly said firmly. Because right now you're proving their point. Keith's eyes darkened. What did you just say? You're acting like someone who's forgotten where they came from. I haven't forgotten anything, Keith snapped. But you clearly forgot how to treat your guests. I'm not judging your music, Kelly said. I'm judging your behavior. Keith shook his head. That wasn't a fair question, it was an ambush. The problem, Kelly replied, is that you can't handle real discussion. Real discussion? Keith shouted. That was an attack disguised as a question. Kelly sighed, frustrated. This is why I asked, Keith. Country music needs honest talk. If defending myself is a breakdown, I'll do it every day, he shot back. Nobody said you can't defend yourself, Kelly said. But there's a difference between passion and hostility. Keith ran a hand through his hair, exhaling hard. I'm done explaining. You want to play the victim? Go ahead. What are you going to do then? Kelly asked. Walk away? That's exactly what I'm going to do, Keith replied quietly. Walk away before this gets worse. You're not being ambushed, Kelly said softly. You're being interviewed. Keith let out a bitter laugh. I used to respect you, Kelly. Thought you understood artists. Kelly's eyes hardened. And I thought I was interviewing a professional? Keith shook his head, voice tired. You brought up an article that questioned my integrity. That's not conversation. That's a trial. Maybe you needed someone to challenge you, Kelly snapped. Maybe people let you slide too long. Keith's stare was icy. There's the real Kelly, the one who thinks success needs to be humbled. That's not true, Kelly said. But real artists handle tough questions. Adults don't ambush each other, Keith said angrily. And adults don't explode over a question, Kelly shot back. Keith took a breath, then glared. You thought you could use me for drama. Ridiculous, Kelly said. You made this into a fight. You'll tell yourself that, Keith muttered. But we both know what happened. I'll tell people the truth, Kelly said. That you turned a conversation into an argument. Keith stared at her for a moment, then sighed. You're right about one thing. This is over. He turned to leave, but Kelly's voice stopped him. Walking away won't fix anything, Keith. It just proves the critics right. Keith turned back one last time. I'm not trying to look good, Kelly. I'm trying to keep my dignity. I came here for music, not judgment. It wasn't judgment, Kelly said quietly. It was respect. No, Kelly, Keith said, shaking his head. Respect is what you failed to show. With that, he walked off the set, leaving Kelly standing in silence as the stunned audience looked on. The only sound left was Keith's footsteps fading down the hall. Kelly took a breath, then whispered, Well, I guess that's a wrap for today. We'll be right back after this break. But as the lights dimmed, everyone in the studio knew this wasn't just an interview gone wrong. It was the end of any friendship or respect between them, burned away live on television.